My wife didn't leave me all at once. She drifted, inch by inch, smile by smile, until the woman who once curled into my chest at night was laughing with another man on a Manhattan rooftop. This is the story of how I watched the cracks spread, how I gathered the receipts of betrayal, and how I finally learned that sometimes the hardest part isn't losing love. It's recognizing when it's already gone. It started small, almost invisible. The kind of changes you only notice when you've lived beside someone long enough to know the rhythm of their body, the cadence of their breath, the little tells that whisper the truth louder than words ever could. Marissa wasn't pulling away in the dramatic sense. Not at first. She was still there, curled against me at night, hair spilling over my chest like it always did, legs hooking around mine in her sleep. But the days, God, the days were different. She was always on her phone now, thumbs moving across the screen with a speed and devotion she never gave me any more. Pinterest boards full of weddings and kitchens we'd never cook in. Instagram reels of women with gloss lips talking about self-care and glow-ups. I'd come in from work, loosen my tie, and ask if she wanted to grab burgers at the corner joint we used to love, and she'd smile absently without looking up. Maybe not tonight, babe. I'm not really hungry. The first few times, I let it go. We all get tired, I told myself. She's stressed from work. Maybe a rough week. Nothing worth worrying about. But the rejection started stacking up, one on top of the other, until they formed something heavy, something sharp-edged that pressed on my chest. 5 rejections in 7 days. I counted. And counting meant I was keeping score, which was its own kind of quiet heartbreak. Tuesday. I reached for her in the morning, wanted to pull her closer, breathe her in before the day pulled us apart. She stiffened like I'd brushed against a hot stove. I'm late, she mumbled, wriggling out of my arms. Wednesday. During a movie, I tried to lace my fingers through hers. She found something urgent on her phone that lasted the entire film. Thursday, I leaned in for a kiss goodbye and got her cheek instead, cold as glass. By Friday, I stopped trying. My presence seemed to demand her absence. Saturday morning, I asked if she wanted coffee in bed like we used to, our little ritual, lazy mornings wrapped in sheets and each other. She looked at me like I'd suggested something obscene. I'm not really a morning person anymore, she said, eyes locked on her phone. That's when it hit me. Not a lightning bolt, not some dramatic collapse. Just a quiet, cold understanding. I was done being the only one trying. But here's the cruelest part. Despite it all, she still pulled me in at night. Still curled into me like instinct, like muscle memory she couldn't turn off. I'd feel the warmth of her body press against mine, her breath soft on my collarbone, and some part of me, the stupid, hopeful part, would ache to believe it meant something. That maybe, just maybe, she still wanted me. And in those moments, lie in the dark with her hair tickling my neck, I'd feel it. That raw hunger, that pull. I still wanted her. I still wanted to kiss her until she forgot whatever world her phone offered that I couldn't. I wanted to remind her how her body used to arch against mine when she couldn't get enough of me, how her nails used to dig into my back when she came undone. But morning always came, and with it, the distance. She'd slip from the sheets, brush her hair, and scroll as if the night had never happened. I started noticing other things, too. She used to laugh at everything I said, those dumb impressions I'd do while grilling burgers, or the way I'd dance like an idiot just to make her roll her eyes. Now jokes landed flat. I'd get a sigh, or worse, silence. Sometimes when I kissed her forehead before leaving for work, she didn't even look up. I'd stand in the kitchen, holding 2 mugs of coffee, watching her scroll with the kind of devotion I used to think was reserved for us. The morning light would hit her ring, and I'd wonder if she remembered what it meant. I didn't want to be paranoid. I didn't want to become one of those guys who read betrayal in every unanswered text, who saw cheating in every late night at the office. But the signs were piling up, and my gut was starting to whisper things my brain didn't want to hear. The thing about drift is you don't feel it at first. You're just floating, carried by a current you can't see. Until suddenly, you look up and realize the shore is gone, and you're somewhere you don't recognize. That's what life with Marissa felt like now. Me, stranded, and her, always a little further out of reach. I told myself to hold on, to wait. Maybe it was just a phase. Maybe she'd turn back toward me, smile like she used to, and all this would feel like a bad dream. But deep down, I knew, you don't count rejections unless you've already started to lose hope. And I had. Still, when she curled into me that night, half asleep and soft against my chest, my body betrayed me. I held her tight, inhaled her scent, and let myself imagine, just for a moment, that she was still mine. Even if, in the daylight, she wasn't anymore. The first time she said I was too clingy, it was almost laughable. Marissa used to tease me about how I wasn't affectionate enough, back when we first started dating. She was the one always sliding her cold feet under mine at night, begging me to hold her tighter when the city wind rattled against our windows. Now, the same closeness she once demanded was suddenly smothering. It wasn't just the words. It was the way she said them, sharp like she was swatting a fly. One night, I reached for her thigh as we watched TV. Just a casual touch of someone who wanted to feel connected, and she brushed me off like I'd done something wrong. Can you not right now? I feel smothered. That one stung. I told myself she was just tired, maybe overwhelmed by work. But once you hear words like that, they echo. They echo in your chest, in the spaces between the moments when you reach out and wonder if you're about to be rejected again. Still, nightfall had its tricks. No matter how sharp her words were during the day, at night, she curled into me like always. Sometimes she pressed herself against me so naturally, hips brushing mine, that I had to bite back the instinct to roll her under me and remind her of who we used to be. My body remembered, even when my mind screamed at me to let it go. And every time, I thought, maybe this means she still wants me. Maybe I'm overthinking. But then came the barbecue. My family's annual thing. Burgers, beer, cornhole in my parents' backyard. She used to love it, laughing with my cousins, sneaking off of me into the garage where we'd steal 10 minutes alone just to kiss like teenagers. This year, when I asked if she was coming, she sighed and said, I think I just need some me time. Me time. The words were simple, but they landed like a stone in my stomach. She didn't even look guilty when she said it, just distracted. Eyes flicking their phone as if the glow on that screen was more compelling than a day with the people who loved me. I went alone, and for the first time, I couldn't explain her absence away. My mom asked if Marissa was working. My sister Julia raised an eyebrow. That knowing look siblings have. Everything okay with you two? She asked quietly while handing me a beer. I shrugged, forcing a smile, because what else could I say? That my girlfriend would rather scroll her phone than sit beside me while I flipped burgers with my dad? When I got home that night, she was stretched out on the couch, some influencer's voice echoing from her phone. She didn't even notice me standing there for a full 30 seconds. When she finally looked up, she gave me a distracted smile and asked, Did you have fun? Yeah, I said, but the word came out hollow. We moved through the following week like strangers pretending to be roommates. She kept herself busy with reels and self-care nights, which seemed to mean face masks and wine she didn't offer to share. I busied myself with work, the gym, anything that kept me from pacing around the apartment waiting for her attention. But distance is its own kind of intimacy. You can feel it in the air, pressing against you. Every time I walked into a room, it was like I was intruding. Every attempt to joke with her was met with a sigh. Every suggestion, grabbing a drink, taking a walk, ordering late-night Chinese, was batted away with some excuse. Still, I couldn't ignore the pull when she leaned into me at night. One evening, she slid against me in her sleep, her ass pressed tight against my hips, and I couldn't stop my body from reacting. My hand hovered over her waist, wanted to pull her closer, to remind her how good it used to be between us. But I froze, because I didn't know anymore if she wanted me, or if I'd wake her and be told again that I was smothering. The tension twisted inside me, desire colliding with rejection, love colliding with doubt. And beneath it all, the gnawing question, if she still wanted me in the dark, why didn't she want me in the daylight? That question followed me everywhere, through commutes, through gym sessions, through late nights staring at the ceiling. The little fractures in our routine had grown into cracks wide enough to see through. And on the other side, I wasn't sure there was still an us. It was a Friday evening when the ground finally shifted beneath my feet. I came home from work, loosened my tie, and expected the same half-hearted hello from the couch. Instead, Marissa was already sitting at the kitchen table, arms crossed, a bag propped against her chair like a silent threat. The look in her eyes told me this wasn't just another sharp comment or sigh of irritation. This was a speech, rehearsed, probably recited in her head a dozen times while scrolling through reels about choosing yourself. She didn't waste time. You're draining me, Ethan, she said, just like that. No warm-up, no hesitation. Words sharp enough to cut. I froze halfway through unbuttoning my shirt. Draining you? Her lips pressed into a tight line. I need to feel free again. I need space. Space. The word echoed around the room, bouncing off walls we painted together, walls that had soaked in laughter and arguments, sex and silence. And now it was just her excuse to leave. My eyes flicked to the bag beside her. Already packed. Already decided. "You've been planning this," I said quietly. She looked away, guilt flashing across her face for half a second before she masked it with irritation. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." "Harder?" My laugh was hollow. "You're leaving me, Marissa. The door hasn't even closed yet, and you're worried about how hard it is for you?" Her shoulders tensed. "This isn't about leaving you. It's about finding myself again." I almost choked on the cliche. Finding herself. The same recycled line influencers use in captions about Bali retreats and messy breakups. But I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I didn't drop to my knees like some movie character, grabbing her hand and swearing I'd change. I just stood there, frozen, watching her gather her bag like she was late for a meeting. The slam of the door was louder than anything she said. Final. I stayed where I was, staring at the dent her chair left on the rug, the faint imprint of her presence fading by the second. My phone stayed in my pocket, burning against my thigh, waiting for the apology text I was sure would come. Something, anything, to prove this wasn't real. But it never buzzed. The hours dragged. I poured myself a drink, then another, but nothing dulled the silence. At midnight, I sat on the couch staring at her throw blanket, still draped over the armrest, smelling faintly like her shampoo. My body ached with the urge to text her. "Come home. Let's talk. Please." But pride is a cruel master. I didn't type a word. By morning, the reality had sunk its claws into me. Her side of the bed was cold. The bathroom counter was stripped bare. Even the little perfume bottle she always left out was gone, like she'd swept her existence from our apartment with surgical precision. I walked through the rooms like a stranger. The space felt bigger, emptier, every sound echoing. In the kitchen, a single coffee mug sat in the sink. Hers, lipstick stain still on the rim. I stared at it for a long time, as if it could explain what the hell had just happened. The worst part wasn't anger. Not yet. It was confusion. A hollow ache, as though someone had yanked the rug out from under me and I hadn't hit the ground yet. By Sunday, I convinced myself she'd come back, that she'd text saying she needed a night or two to clear her head, that she missed me, that this was a mistake. I left my ringer on, checking my phone every hour. Each time the screen lit up, my chest leapt, only to sink when it was just a junk email or a notification about a sports score I didn't care about anymore. But her silence screamed louder than any words. I thought about all the nights she'd still curled into me, even when she was cold and sharp during the day, about how natural it felt to hold her, to breathe her in. How could someone go from that to walking out with a pre-packed bag? The answer lodged itself somewhere deep, one I wasn't ready to face. She'd been leaving long before she actually walked out the door. And the sickest part? Even knowing that, even standing in the ruins of what we had, I still wanted her back. I still wanted to believe she'd walk through that door, toss her bag aside, and climb into my arms like none of it had happened. But the door stayed shut. The silence stayed heavy. And I stayed waiting for an apology that never came. The first blow came not from her, but from my best friend. Saturday morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Caleb. "Bro, you need to see this." Attached was a screenshot of Marissa's Instagram story. A rooftop bar in Manhattan. 2 champagne flutes. The skyline glittering behind them. Her hand. Bracelets catching the light. Clinking glasses with someone else's. At first, my chest tightened with denial. It could have been anyone, right? A co-worker, a friend, some influencer she was meeting. But then Caleb sent another screenshot, zoomed in just enough to catch the hand opposite hers. Strong, tanned, with a faint scar running across the wrist. A scar I knew. Alex. Her ex. The one she once dismissed as a mistake. A bad chapter she was glad to have closed. The same man whose name she spit out years ago like poison when she told me about how he broke her trust. How she swore she'd never fall for that kind of charm again. And yet, there he was, his laugh spilling into the background of her video clip. Familiar and unmistakable. I stared at the screen, so long my eyes blurred. My pulse hammered in my ears, hot and loud. Like my body was screaming the truth, I still didn't want to admit. She hadn't needed space. She'd needed cover. I called Caleb. He didn't mince words. "Man, she's flaunting it. No shame. She wants you to see." I wanted to argue, to spin some story about coincidences, about how maybe she just ran into him. But the evidence was right there, neon bright in pixels. Her glass clinking his, her laughter stitched with his. The next clip showed their champagne glasses half empty, then a sweeping shot of the rooftop pool, her bare legs stretched across a lounge chair, his shadow falling over her body as he leaned down. The reel ended before his face appeared, but I didn't need proof beyond what I already had. My gut twisted. For hours, I paced the apartment. Every object felt like a taunt. The perfume bottle missing from the dresser, the empty hook where her favorite jacket had hung, even the faint outline of her body in the mattress. She hadn't left to find herself. She'd left to find him. I wanted to scream, to smash my phone against the wall, but instead I just kept staring at the evidence. Proof of betrayal, gift-wrapped in Instagram filters and hashtags. By evening, Julia, my sister, called. She'd already seen the stories. Her voice was sharp, protective, the way only a sister's can be. Stop making excuses for her, Ethan. She knew exactly what she was doing. She's not confused. She's not lost. She's cheating. Her bluntness was like cold water. No cushioning. No space to hide behind the what-ifs I've been clinging to. She said Alex was a mistake. I muttered more to myself than to Julia. Yeah, well, Julia snapped. Some people don't learn from mistakes. They repeat them. That night, lying in bed alone, the memories attacked. I remember the first time Marissa told me about Alex, how her face had twisted in disgust when she described him. The manipulations, the late nights, the constant suspicion. She swore she'd never go back. And yet she had. Worse, she hadn't just gone back. She was broadcasting it, like a highlight reel of betrayal. The rooftop, the champagne, the laughter, all curated for the world. For me, for anyone who cared enough to watch. I realized then that her absence from my family barbecue, her sudden obsession with me time, her constant scrolling, it had all been leading here. She hadn't been drifting away without reason. She'd been redirecting herself toward him. The pieces clicked together in a cruel puzzle. The sharpness in her words, the rejection in her touch, the excuses piling up like bricks in a wall between us. All of it had been preparation, softening the blow for when she finally walked out the door. But what cut deepest wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how public she made it, as if my pain was part of the performance, as if humiliating me was just another accessory, something to match her bracelets and champagne glass. I thought about texting her. I saw it. I know, but I stopped myself. She wanted me to see. She wanted a reaction. The silence, I decided, would be my only weapon. Still, sleep didn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her hand clinking his glass, her smile brighter than it had been in months. And for the first time since she'd left, I let the truth settle in my bones. This wasn't just a phase. This wasn't stress from work or a rough patch. This was betrayal, raw and undeniable, playing out in Instagram stories for the world to watch. By dawn, I wasn't sure which hurt more, that she cheated or that she made it look so easy. Caleb showed up the next day with a six-pack and the kind of look only a best friend can give. Pity wrapped in anger. He set the beer down on my counter and cracked one open without asking. She's flaunting it, man, he said. She wants you to feel it. That's the only reason you post that kind of shit. I didn't answer right away. My phone was still on the table, paused on her rooftop video, the bracelets on her wrist catching the light just before the camera panned to champagne. It looped like a wound replaying itself. Caleb reached over, closed the app, and pushed the phone away. You don't need to torture yourself. What you need is evidence. Proof. Because she's going to spin this however she wants. And you can't let her make you the villain. I stared at him, the words rattling inside me. Proof. Receipts. A case file. The lawyer in him. He wasn't one, but he always thought like one. Was already building a strategy. That night, Julia called again. My sister has never been one for subtlety. Ethan, stop defending her. Stop pretending she's lost or confused. She's not. She's cheating. Own it. Her bluntness hurt, but it also gave me something solid to hold on to. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something shift inside me. Not hope, not heartbreak, but clarity. So I started saving everything. Screenshots of her stories. The champagne glasses. The rooftop. The poolside shadow leaning over her body. Every frame that screamed Alex. I saved pictures of the jewelry she wore in those clips. The bracelet I hadn't seen before. The necklace that hadn't been on our dress of the day she left. The next weekend, I went by the apartment we used to share. She hadn't come back for the rest of her things yet. That absence itself was damning. If you leave your perfume, your jacket, even your hair straightener behind, but you remember to pack your favorite heels and that low-cut dress you used to wear for me, you're not leaving for space. You're leaving for someone else. On the nightstand, I noticed a faint scent, musky, cologne that wasn't mine. I pulled open the drawer and found an empty perfume box. A new bottle had been sitting there the week before, unopened. Now it was gone. My chest tightened. She hadn't even tried to hide the fact she was dressing for him. And then, the detail that broke me. The scar. Alex had a scar on his right wrist. A thin pale line he got from some bar fight years ago. Marissa told me the story once, laughing at how reckless he'd been. In her rooftop video, when the champagne glasses clinked, the camera caught it. That scar was there, clear as day. I zoomed in, my hand shaking, until there was no denying it. This wasn't speculation anymore. It wasn't paranoia. It was fact. The receipts were stacking up, a file of betrayal I hadn't asked for but couldn't ignore. Caleb helped me organize them. Screenshots labeled with dates, side-by-side comparisons of Alex's posts and hers. Even the stupid caption about new beginnings that she thought was subtle. At one point, Julia came over too. She scrolled through the evidence with fire in her eyes. She's not even hiding it, she said. She's parading it. And if you let her, she'll gaslight you until you start apologizing for being suspicious. That was the thing. I knew Marissa. She'd frame it as harmless. She'd call Alex an old friend, insist nothing happened. Tell me I was insecure. That was her weapon. Plausible deniability. But this time, I had the scar, the jewelry, the overlapping timestamps. I had the truth. And yet, despite all of it, I found myself staring at her pictures late at night, tracing her smile with my eyes, remembering the way that smile used to be for me. Desire and rage tangled together until I couldn't tell which one I wanted more. To kiss her until she remembered, or to scream at her until she admitted everything. The nights were the worst. I'd lie in bed, body aching with absence, and picture her in his arms instead of mine. My mind betrayed me, imagining her arching into him, whispering his name the way she used to whisper mine. It made me sick. It made me want her. It made me furious. Caleb tried to keep me grounded. She's not worth it, he said one night, clinking his beer against mine. You're holding on to a ghost. She's gone, Ethan. The woman you loved is gone. Maybe he was right, but ghosts linger. They haunt the places you can't scrub clean. Her perfume still clung to my pillow. Her hair ties still sat in the bathroom drawer. Her laugh still echoed in my head when I least expected it. So I kept collecting. Every receipt. Every clue. Not because I needed to prove it to myself, I already knew, but because I knew a storm was coming. And when she tried to rewrite history, I wasn't going to let her. For days, I sat on the evidence like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Screenshots, timestamps, the scar on his wrist. I had enough proof to bury every excuse Marissa might try to spin. But the question lingered. What was I supposed to do with it? Part of me wanted to explode, to text her every file at once and demand she admit what she'd done. Another part of me wanted to go nuclear, to show the world what she was hiding behind her curated stories. But Caleb, steady as ever, leaned back in my armchair one night and said, "You want real impact? You don't aim at her. You aim at him." I frowned, sipping my beer. "What do you mean?" "Alex isn't single," Caleb said flatly. "You remember? He's married." The name dropped like a stone into my stomach. Thomasina. Tommy. Everyone called her. I'd met her once in passing years ago at some gallery opening. Pretty, sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who looked like she saw straight through bullshit. And she had no idea her husband was clinking champagne glasses with mine. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. "You think I should tell her?" Caleb didn't flinch. "I think she deserves to know. She's in the same boat as you, man. You've got the proof. Use it." That night, I couldn't sleep. The thought of reaching out to Tommy gnawed at me. Was it revenge, or was it justice? Did it even matter? Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured her face the way I remembered it. Smiling politely, unaware her husband's shadow was stretched over another woman. By morning, the decision was made. She had the right to know. And maybe, just maybe, shining a light on the affair would burn away the gaslighting Marissa had laced me with. Through Caleb's network, he had this uncanny ability to know people who knew people. I got Tommy's email address. I must have drafted that message a dozen times. At first it was too angry, laced with words like betrayal and lies. Then too soft, like I was apologizing for the truth itself. Finally, I settled on something simple. "Hi, Tommy. I'm sorry to be the one to reach out like this, but I believe you deserve to know the truth. Marissa and Alex have been seeing each other. I've attached screenshots and photos that confirm it. I wish I didn't have to send this. But I couldn't stay silent. You don't deserve to be in the dark. Ethan, my finger hovered over the send button for a long time. Once I pressed it, there was no undoing it. No more pretending this was just a rough patch. No more excuses. This was war. When I finally hit send, my hand shook. It wasn't relief, not exactly. More like standing on the edge of a cliff after you've already jumped. You know there's no going back, but the ground hasn't hit you yet. The hours crawl by. I half expected an immediate reply, some furious message in all caps, or maybe silent forever. Instead, by evening, I saw the notification, one new email. Her reply was short, clinical. Thank you for telling me. I had my suspicions. The proof helps. I'll handle this. That was it. No tears, no rage, no demands for more information. Just icy confirmation. It unsettled me more than if she'd screamed. But a strange calm settled over me, too. For the first time since Marissa left, I wasn't the only one carrying the weight of her betrayal. Someone else now bore it with me. Someone who understood. That night, I poured myself a drink and stood on the balcony. The city glowed below, cars streaming like veins of light. Caleb texted, "You did the right thing." Julia sent a thumbs-up emoji when I told her. But what mattered most was the quiet inside me. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt done with secrets. The next morning, Marissa's name lit up my phone. Call after call. Then a string of messages. How dare you involve Tommy? This isn't your business. You're pathetic. I didn't answer. I just let the phone buzz on the table, each vibration weaker than the last. For once, I wasn't the one chasing. The storm broke 2 days later. My phone lit up in the middle of a meeting. Marissa, her name flashing again and again. I let it buzz until the vibration rattled against the desk. Then came the messages, a flood of them, angry blocks of text spilling one after another. How could you do this to me? You had no right to involve Tommy. This was between us, not you and her. Every word reeked of outrage, but underneath it, I could hear the fear. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of exposure. By the time I left work, the calls had turned into voicemails. Some were furious, her voice rising like broken glass. You're pathetic, Ethan. You've ruined everything. Others dipped into pleading. Please, just talk to me. We can work this out. Why would you do this to us? Us. The word almost made me laugh. There was no us left. She burned on a rooftop with champagne and hashtags. Meanwhile, Alex's Instagram suddenly went private. Marissa, too. No more curated reels. No more rooftop snapshots. Instead, her feed shifted to cryptic quotes about betrayal. Snakes will always reveal themselves. Energy vampires can't stand when you cut them off. The irony nearly choked me. For once, though, I wasn't the one gaslit. I wasn't doubting myself, or questioning if I'd overreacted. The lie had detonated, and the fallout was all hers. Caleb came over that night with Chinese takeout, dumping cartons on the table like it was a victory feast. She's scrambling, he said between bites of lo mein. You can tell from the way she's posting. She's trying to control the narrative, but the story's already out. He was right. Word spread quickly through our circle of friends. People texted me, "Hey, man, we saw her at that hotel with Alex. It didn't look good." Julia called, blunt as ever. She's humiliated, and she should be. Don't give her the satisfaction of responding. But still, the flood of messages came. At one point, she left a voicemail so frantic, it almost made me pity her. Do you know what you've done, Ethan? Do you know how many people are talking? You've ruined my life. I replayed that one twice, just to let it sink in. She hadn't mentioned love. She hadn't mentioned missing me. She was worried about reputation, about appearances, about control. The truth had ripped the mask off, and she couldn't stand being barefaced. That weekend, Julia dragged me out for drinks. I wasn't in the mood, but she insisted. Sitting across from her at a noisy Brooklyn bar, she studied me like a hawk. You look lighter, she finally said. Lighter? I frowned. Yeah, like you're not carrying her weight on your shoulders anymore. She's the one drowning now, not you. I wanted to argue, but she was right. For months, I've been the one suffocating, walking on eggshells, doubting every instinct. Now the roles had flipped. Marissa was spinning, scrambling to patch leaks in a ship she'd steered into an iceberg. And me, for the first time, I could breathe. That night, lying in bed alone, I realized something strange. I didn't feel the crushing ache of missing her. I didn't even feel anger. What I felt was distance, like she was a character in a story I'd outgrown. Of course, the quiet didn't last. Monday morning, she sent another volley of messages. Long, rambling paragraphs about how I'd overreacted, how Alex was just a moment of weakness, how I was cruel to involve Tommy. She accused me of being vindictive, controlling, bitter, but her words didn't land the way they used to. They didn't crawl under my skin. They just sat there on the screen, desperate and hollow. I set the phone down without replying. And for once, silence was enough. Because the fallout wasn't mine anymore. It was hers. The whispers started before the week was out. Friends texted, some cautiously, some blunt. Man, we saw her at that hotel with Alex. It was bad. Another sent me a photo snapped from across a lobby bar. Alex hunched forward, Marissa's hand gripping his knee while Tommy stood a few feet away, eyes blazing. Caleb confirmed what I already suspected. Tommy confronted him right there, in front of everyone. He told me. Hotel staff had to step in. It was messy. Messy. That was the word that clung to Marissa now. What she thought was a secret romance wrapped in champagne sparkle had become a spectacle. No curated caption could soften the image of her sitting with a married man while his wife tore into him in public. Meanwhile, my phone kept lighting up Marissa's name over and over. Long, frantic messages. You've destroyed me. You've made me look insane. Everyone thinks I'm the villain now. Do you feel good about that? And then, just as quickly, another tone. I still love you. I never stopped. You don't understand how much pressure I was under. I read them all without replying. Each message was another attempt to reel me back into her narrative. First anger, then guilt, then longing, all tools she'd mastered over the years. But for once, I wasn't bending. What surprised me most wasn't her desperation. It was my strength against it. Months ago, I would have folded the first, I love you. I would have clung to it like a lifeline. But now those words felt cheap, stretched thin by betrayal. I wasn't the only one noticing. Julia called after hearing from mutual friends. She's unraveling, she said flatly. Posting about snakes and betrayal 1 minute. Sending you love notes the next. It's pathetic. Don't you dare answer her. Caleb echoed the same. This is when she'll try to twist it. Man. Make you the abuser. The controlling ex. The jealous guy who couldn't let her go. Don't give her ammunition. Silence is your weapon. So I stayed silent. Still, I couldn't ignore the ripple effect. At work, co-workers gave me careful looks. Some asked if I was doing okay. Others avoided me entirely, afraid to step into drama. They only half understood. My phone buzzed with group chat screenshots. Friends dissecting Marissa's cryptic posts, some defending her, others shaking their heads. It was surreal, watching the private implosion of my relationship turn into public gossip. Our love story reduced to speculation, memes, and hushed conversations over drinks. But instead of breaking me, it hardened me. Every rumor confirmed what I already knew. She wasn't someone to fight for anymore. She was someone to walk away from. One night, I sat on the balcony with Caleb. He cracked a beer, handed it over, and studied me. You know, he said, most guys would be wrecked right now. You look like you're coming back to life. I thought about that, about how I'd been drifting for months, clinging to scraps of affection, doubting myself with every rejection. Now, with everything exposed, there was no more pretending, no more wondering if I was overthinking. The truth was ugly, but it was clean. I think I'm done chasing, I finally said. Caleb smirked, clinking his bottle against mine. About damn time. Inside, my phone buzzed again. Another long message from Marissa. I didn't open it. Instead, I set the phone face down, letting her words vanish into silence. And in that moment, I realized something important. The mess around me didn't have to be mine. She could drown in her chaos. I didn't have to follow. For the first time in months, I felt a strange, steady calm, a private resolve no one could touch. Her fury burned out like a storm that spends itself too fast. The angry text slowed, the cryptic post softened. And then, one night at 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a voicemail notification. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. Her voice spilled through the speaker, cracked and small. Ethan, I miss you. I made a mistake. Please just talk to me. I don't know what I was thinking. A shaky breath. I just want to come home. The ache in her tone could have gutted me months ago. But lying in bed, listening to her words curl and break, I felt nothing, or maybe not nothing, more like distance, a thick glass wall between us. The next night brought another voicemail, this time longer. She cried openly, words tumbling over each other. I thought I wanted freedom. I thought Alex meant something. But he doesn't. He never did. I was chasing a feeling. Ethan, not a person. I see that now. I see you. I didn't reply. By the end of the week, the messages multiplied. Emails this time, sprawling paragraphs that filled the screen with apologies and confessions. She wrote about being scared of getting older, about wanting to feel young again, about Alex being a mistake she walked into with eyes half closed. She begged me to believe that it wasn't about love or commitment, that it was just a desperate grab at lost youth. Her words were heavy with regret, but they were also self-serving. Every sentence felt like an excuse disguised as an apology. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just needed to feel alive. I still love you. Maybe once. Those words would have been a lifeline. Now they felt like anchors. Caleb read one of her emails over my shoulder and snorted. She's not sorry she cheated. She's sorry it blew up in her face. Big difference. Julia was harsher. Delete them. Don't even give her the satisfaction of knowing you've read them. I didn't delete them. I saved them, just like the receipts. Not because I planned to use them, but because they reminded me of a shift inside me, of how far I come from the man who once counted her rejections like wounds. And yet, some nights, desire twisted inside me. My body remembered what my heart wanted to forget. I'd lie in bed, thinking about the curve of her hip, the way she used to arch into me, the way she whispered my name like a secret. I hated myself for it, for still wanting her touch even as her betrayal rotted between us. But I never answered her calls. I never typed out the reply my hands itched to send. Instead, I let her chase. Days turned into weeks. The desperation in her tone grew sharper, less remorseful and more frantic. She called at odd hours, voice slurred sometimes, begging for just 5 minutes of my time. She left notes on my door once, scrawled handwriting shaking across the page. I'm lost without you. Please forgive me. I folded it once, twice, and dropped in the trash. It struck me then, the power dynamic had shifted. For so long, she was the one drifting away, making me beg for scraps of affection. Now she was the one on the outside, clawing at the walls she built, desperate for entry. And me? For the first time, I didn't open the door. It was a gray afternoon when she showed up at my building. I heard the knock, soft at first, then louder. When I opened the door, Marissa was standing there, eyes red and swollen, hair a mess, her voice breaking before she even spoke. Ethan, please. Just 5 minutes. For a second, instinct tugged at me. Months of habit made me want to pull her inside. Sit her down, hold her until the storm passed. But I didn't move. I kept my hand on the doorframe, blocking the threshold. There's nothing left to say. I told her. Tears streamed down her face, streaking the makeup she hadn't bothered to wipe away. I'm sorry. I don't even know who I was with him. I lost myself. Please, just give me one more chance. Her voice cracked on the word chance, and I felt the old ache stir in me. The memories. The night she curled into me. The morning she laughed at my terrible coffee. The way her body fit against mine like it was made to flashed through my mind. Desire and grief tangled together, threatening to pull me under. But then I remembered the rooftop, the champagne, the scar on his wrist, the voicemails at 2 a.m. that weren't for me but for her own guilt. I shook my head. You chose him. Over me. Over us. And now you want to undo it like it never happened. But it did. And I can't forget that. Her sob was sharp enough to cut through the hallway. She covered her mouth, trembling. Please, Ethan. I closed the door. Later that night, when I came back from the gym, I found a note, slipped under my door, folded once. Her handwriting messy from tears. I'm sorry. I hope you find someone better. I didn't unfold it again. I tossed it into the trash with the rest of her apologies. In the days that followed, the silence stretched. No more calls, no more emails. Her cryptic posts disappeared. Her accounts went quiet. The storm had burned itself out, leaving behind only wreckage. Then, out of nowhere, Tommy emailed me. Just a few lines. Thank you for your honesty. I deserve to know. Whatever happens now, I'm glad someone had the courage to tell me the truth. I read it twice, then closed my laptop. It wasn't closure exactly, but it felt like a weight shifting off my chest. Someone else had seen the same betrayal. Someone else had walked through the fire, and we had both survived it. That night, Caleb showed up with six-pack, as usual. We sat on the balcony, the city spread out below us, the air cool and heavy. He cracked his beer, handed me one, and said, "You're finally free, man." I nodded, staring out at the skyline. Free and feel like healing. Not yet. The scars were still raw, the bed still too cold, the memories still too sharp. But it did feel lighter, like I could breathe without her shadow pressing down on me. Over the next weeks, I started piecing myself back together. I bought a guitar, something I'd always said I'd learn, but never had the time for. I started running again, pounding the pavement until my lungs burned, until my body reminded me I was still alive. I cleaned the apartment, really cleaned it, scrubbing every corner she'd touched, throwing out the last of her things. Each bag that left the door made the place more mine again. My sanctuary, not a graveyard. Sometimes, late at night, I'd still think of her. The way she laughed, the way she whispered, the way she fit against me in the dark. But the pain that followed was different now. It wasn't longing. It wasn't even anger. It was just acceptance. She'd written her chapter in my life, and it was over. I wasn't healed, not fully, but I was free to start writing the next one, without her ink bleeding through the pages. And for the first time in a long time, that felt enough. It's strange, the quiet that follows chaos. For so long, my life had been noise. Her laughter in other men's videos, the ding of messages I wasn't meant to see, the hum of constant doubt in my own head. Now, silence filled the apartment, not heavy like before, but open, freeing. In the first weeks after it ended, I kept waiting for the ache to consume me. I thought I'd wake up every day with her ghost next to me, reaching for a body that wasn't there. But instead, mornings became mine again. Coffee brewed without the sting of rejection. Music played without her complaints about the volume. The space she left behind didn't stay empty, it expanded. I spent long evenings with my guitar, fingers stumbling over chords, calluses forming the way new skin grows over an old wound. Running became ritual. Each mile burned out a little more of the poison, sweat replacing sorrow. Caleb joked that I was detoxing from Marissa, but in a way, he was right. Still, memory has its own stubborn rhythm. There were nights I'd dream of her, her body curling into mine, the sound of her whisper against my neck. For a moment, I'd wake up warm, tricked by the ghost of comfort. Then the truth would return. She wasn't beside me, and I didn't want her to be. The thing about betrayal is that it rewires you. It forces you to confront questions you never thought you'd ask. Was I blind? Was I weak? Did I miss the signs because I didn't want to see them? The answer, I've realized, is complicated. Love makes optimists of us all. We cling to the best version of someone, even when the cracks start to spread. I used to think strength was holding on. Now I know it's letting go. Friends asked if I hated her. I don't. Hatred ties you to someone just as tightly as love does. What I feel now is sharper, cleaner, indifference. She no longer has real estate in my head. Her choices are her own, and the wreckage she left is hers to live in. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't learn from it. I learned to trust my instincts, the gut that told me something was off long before the receipts piled up. I learned the difference between apologies and excuses, between wanting someone and being wanted in return. I learned that silence can be stronger than shouting, that walking away can be louder than slamming a door. Most of all, I learned what I need. Not fireworks every day, not some grand cinematic romance. Just consistency, partnership, a woman who sees me, not as a placeholder or a safety net, but as someone worth choosing every damn day. If there's advice I give anyone reading this, anyone who feels that creeping distance in their own relationship, it's this: don't gaslight yourself. Don't write off your own loneliness as clinginess or bad timing. If the person you love makes you feel small for wanting love back, pay attention. That's not partnership, it's starvation. Marissa once told me she needed space to feel free. Funny thing is, I needed space too, not from her body pressed against mine, but from the version of her that saw me as disposable. And when I finally took that space, when I finally shut the door and meant it, I found something I hadn't felt in years. Myself. I don't know what comes next. Maybe love again, maybe not for a while. But I do know this. The man who started this story, counting rejections like bruises, doubting his worth with every unanswered touch, is not the man writing these words now. I am lighter, stronger, and free.